Let's talk about Good Omens episode 3, Hard Times. Spoilers. Now, my first reaction when I watched this episode was, what did I just watch? But don't come after me, it wasn't in a bad way. In fact, I think this might be my favorite episode of the series. Hold on to your seats because we're about to enter romantic melodrama land. And I'm not sure exactly how I feel about that, but I don't feel bad about it. The entire first half of the episode is completely devoted to traveling back in time to different points in history where Aziraphale and Crowley crossed paths and interacted and developed their relationship. This takes so long that they don't actually roll the credit until about minute 29 of the episode, which is quite unusual, but I cannot complain because this is one of the funnest things I've ever watched, and I'm really glad they went so overindulgent on it. Basically, we have half an hour of Crowley and Aziraphale in different costumes, in different historical eras, having fun and just being Aziraphale and Crowley. We see a little bit of Noah's Ark, there's a pretty funny joke about the unicorn, and Crowley is appropriately upset and shocked that God wants to drown so many people, including children. And thank God we're finally seeing the nicer, cuter, more innocent side of Crowley. That's what I was waiting for. That for me is more in character. I felt like in the first couple of episodes, he was more kind of like traditionally demonic, and I enjoy playing against the stereotype a lot more. And in this episode, he's definitely playing against the stereotype. Crowley, I think, is the one we're kind of meant to have a little bit more sympathy for, and not because he's damaged and not because he needs redemption, because I don't think that he does. He's usually the one who's right. Out of the two of them, he is the more vulnerable and the more childish, but he's also the wiser one. He's the one who understands that good and evil are kind of more shades of grey. Hell and heaven are pretty much two sides of the same coin, and demons aren't evil and angels aren't always nice, and the world is more complicated than that. And Aziraphale being more conservative and more stuck in his ways and more afraid to step over the line is the character who actually learns something by the end and who finds his courage and, you know, stands against his superiors. Crowley doesn't need to learn that lesson, he already knows it, and while he hasn't been openly standing against his superiors, he has made it very clear to Aziraphale that he doesn't care, and he already thinks they're on their own side. Throughout this whole thing, you can definitely tell that, just like in the book, Crowley seems to be the one who's more proactive in the friendship, we'll talk about that later, and in fact he goes as far as saving Aziraphale's life on at least 2 occasions. The chemistry between them is great, the banter is great, the jokes are great, the different fashions. David Tennant gets to play with so many different wigs and costumes. And the whole thing was just amazing. The only downside is that after this first half, the rest of the episode kind of pales by comparison. There's some interesting stuff that happens. Anathema spends some time with Adam and tells him about different problems in the world, like global warming, I guess, and the whales being killed, and we know that that's going to stick in his head and it's going to manifest in reality later on. I have a little bit of an issue with Adam. He looks exactly the way he should. He's a very cute kid, but I don't know if it's the direction. I usually don't often blame children for their acting, so maybe it's a little bit the direction. He's not as interesting as he could be, but I mean, in the grand scheme of things, it's something that I can overlook. Aziraphale and Crowley contact their respective people, who are of course the same person, and it's Shadwell. So they both contact him and send him to Tadfield to find the Antichrist. And there's some little bits with Shadwell and Madame Tracy, which are always fun to watch. They're incredibly cute as a pair, so I enjoyed them. But all of this is just slightly forgettable compared to all the stuff that happens with Aziraphale and Crowley. Another thing that has been added that wasn't in the book is this whole dramatic side plotline with Crowley trying to get holy water and Aziraphale refusing to give him any. So kind of in the middle of their relationship through the ages, Crowley asks Aziraphale for some holy water just as insurance, because he's clearly worried that hell will be mad at him at some point and he wants to be able to defend himself. And Aziraphale, it's not very clear whether he thinks that Crowley's planning suicide or something, but he reacts very violently and he's like, no, I couldn't possibly give you anything like that, it will destroy you. Maybe he's just worried that Crowley being anywhere near holy water is dangerous. And this kind of argument between them about the holy water continues for decades upon decades upon decades upon decades. How difficult is it to get holy water? Couldn't Crowley just ask somebody else to go into a church and get some holy water for him? And in fact, that's what he eventually does after they keep going back and forth for ages. He goes and hires some criminals, one of whom is actually Shadwell, so there's a little connection there, to go and rob a church and get him holy water. And at this point, Aziraphale extremely reluctantly shows up and goes, okay, listen, this is way too dangerous, please don't do that, call it off, here's some holy water. You know, here's this thermos of holy water, don't open it. But he seems to be like very upset about the fact that he has to give him this. So there's a whole lot of drama around it, which I don't know if it was warranted, but it was fun. And I think in general, watching this episode the entire time, I was thinking, oh my goodness, this is so over dramatic. And I'm not saying this necessarily as a criticism, because as I said, I did enjoy it a lot. It was really fun to watch. But it does feel quite a bit different from the book. And that might be partially because their relationship in the series, I feel, is not quite the same as in the book. If in the book, if you were really trying and if you squinted in just the right light and just the right angle, you could find some romantic subtext between them. I don't think it was intentionally put there, at least at the time. I don't think in the book we were meant to be getting them being romantic. But if you could sort of find that in the book a little bit, in the series, there's no sub to the text. It's very, very not subtle at all that this is being presented as a romantic relationship. That's exactly how they are behaving. There's even some little lines like Aziraphale literally says when he gives him the holy water and Crowley invites him, I don't know, for dinner or whatever, Aziraphale literally goes, "You move too fast for me, Crowley." It's very, very overt. And I don't dislike it. I think it's really fun that we're getting something that wasn't in the book, because I think the book exists as its own entity. I don't think what's in the series changes what's in the book, and I think it's kind of cool to have these two different versions. But in terms of their relationship, I'm gonna have to make a whole other video because it will be way too long if I talk about it here. Also, towards the end of the episode, we get this, I can only classify it as a lover's quarrel in this little bandstand, this little gazebo in the park where they apparently meet. all the time. It is so dramatic. They are having a full-on breakup scene. Aziraphale is like, "It's over, Crowley, we can't work together, you're a demon and it's over." And Crowley's like, "No, but we have to work together because we're friends." And Aziraphale is like, "No, we're not friends, I'm leaving you." "Okay, fine, I'm leaving you. Okay, I don't care." It's just so much drama, and it's kind of hilarious, but it is also kind of heartbreaking. So, all in all, I really enjoyed this episode. It was really dramatic, but also really, really fun to watch. I love the fact that it focused so much on Aziraphale and Crowley, and I was really happy with how they were presented. Thanks very much for watching. See you in the next episode.